I want to tell you guys something that's taken me years to understand as a pro player. I've beaten top 10 PPA pros, APP pros in practice. Players that have gone to win multiple tournaments, players that have gone to be still top 5 in the world and considered some of the best in the world. But then I go to a tournament and I don't play anywhere near that level. Tell me if that sounds familiar and if you've dealt with something like this before too. Here's what's actually happening inside your body and brain in practice versus a tournament, at least for me. In practice, you're not really thinking about much. Your brain is in autopilot mode. You're just hitting the ball. Whereas maybe in the tournament, your brain is very active in thinking about conditions, how to hit the ball, and strategy and things like that. So your brain is actually very active and thinking a lot. Where it's actually interesting, your brain, when it's very active like this and overthinking, only processes about 40 bits of information. Whereas when you're in subconscious mode or autopilot mode, your brain is processing 11 million bits information, which is astounding. So basically, if you're like me and you overthink in tournaments or overthink in general, your brain is actually hurting you. You're actually thinking less. So in reality, your subconscious mind is processing a lot faster and actually performs better when you let it. I have 3 tips for you to use in your next tournament or before your next tournament so that you can bridge the gap between how you play in practice to how you play in tournaments. And full disclaimer, I'm along this journey with you guys. I'm here working on these things, trying them out, and giving them to you to try as well for what I found successful, because I want you to improve as well. So this is a full disclaimer. Some of the tips that have really helped me. Tip number 1, reframe your nerves. So obviously before a tournament, you're feeling nervous, you want to perform well, and that's okay. Give yourself permission to be nervous. That means you care and you want to do well. And I think those are good things. But there's a way to reframe your brain and your mind to not think of nervousness as an enemy, but rather a cue to go and perform, a cue to go and play, a cue to go and compete. So before your match or before your tournament, when you feel the nerves, don't think, oh, this is not good. My nerves are here. I'm not going to play well. I don't want my nerves to be here. But rather think of it as an exciting moment. Reframe your mind to say, oh, I can feel that excitement. It's coursing through my body. I'm excited to go play this match, and I'm excited to go show what I've got. And I'm excited to have a chance to compete. So that's tip number 1. Reframe your mind to be excited about it and use your nerves as excitement rather than an enemy. Tip number 2 is to always have a pre-match routine. We're humans, and humans are very routine beings. We like to have things kind of the same every day, and we like to see patterns. So what I mean by that is my personal pre-match routine that I've been working on is just taking 5 minutes to close my eyes, breathe in, breathe out, and visualize myself playing well. And it's not visualizing myself winning points per se, but I'm visualizing myself walking into the tournament, the venue, the site, feeling the paddle in my hand, the grip in my hand, walking onto the court, doing my dynamic warm-up, and hitting the ball to the spots where I want them to go. So I'm not visualizing myself winning and necessarily holding up a trophy, but rather feeling those shots on my paddle and feeling how good it feels to hit a passing shot and hit the spots and targets that I'm looking for. So this is my personal visualization and pre-match routine. I've seen other guys on tour, they'll put on their headphones and their music and they'll just sit and probably visualize as well. And then your visualization or pre-match routine, in fact, could be just joking around with your friends, having a laugh to let yourself loosen up and kind of release some of those nerves. That could very well be your pre-match routine, is hanging out with your friends. But I highly suggest having something consistent that you do every time between your matches so that you can create what we call a routine. Tip number 3, and this one has probably helped me the most and something that I've been practicing a lot, is to create an environment that is the same in a tournament or similar in a tournament as you do in practice. Now, I'll be honest, there's suggestions to put betting on the line, put money on the line, put punishment push-ups on the line for when you're playing games. If you lose, you have to do something. I've tried that and it didn't really work for me. It may work for you, but that's something to also try, is to put a consequence for when you're playing rec games or in practice so that it feels like a tournament. But to me, I've always just felt like in a tournament, it just feels so much more different than practice. So even when I put something on the line in practice, it's hard for me to convert my brain to make it feel like it's a tournament setting. And that's just me personally. So I've had to do something else. I've had to sort of bridge the gap between practice and tournaments by creating what we call that same routine. And if I'm doing the same routines during my practice matches as I am in the tournaments, that kind of sets me in an environment where I tell my brain, hey, I'm doing the same routine as I am in practice. I'm doing the same routine now at this tournament. Kind of what's the difference? You know what I mean? So one example is between each point, whether I win or lose the point in practice, I'll exhale my breath for 4 seconds, just quick 4 seconds, and then I'll say a trigger word to reset myself and start the point. So this is an example. It can be any trigger word, but I'll exhale, play free is something I'll say to myself. Or you could exhale, be aggressive. So it should be something very simple and something you can repeatedly say between points and before you start your next point to reset your mind and be ready to play that next point. And I started doing that in practice, and I noticed before I wouldn't really do that in practice. I'd just sort of play along, I'd play point after point after point, and I was on autopilot. But now what I'm doing is I'm creating a routine in practice, and now I'm starting to do that in tournaments where I'll exhale, play free, and say my trigger word. And the best part about that is now my brain, I'm kind of tricking my brain into thinking like, oh, this is just like what we were doing the past 3 weeks in practice. This must be another practice session. But in fact, I'm at a tournament. So these are, some of the few techniques that I've used in the past week or two. So it's been pretty new, but it's really helped me a lot. And I recommend you guys try that out, especially if you're feeling what I'm feeling, where you play really well in practice, but not as well in tournaments. This is something that you can do to kind of bridge that gap between tournament play and practice play. And I wish you guys best of luck. I'll be here to continue to give tips as I discover them, but keep grinding out there, and we'll see you on the next one.